Roger, go for deploy.
All right, welcome back to Adventure Fit Radio, guys. Today we've got a show with Nick Sorrel.
As in sore elbow?
As in son
of Thor.
No, as nephew of Jor-El.
Yes, who was Superman's dad.
That's right.
Twice removed.
That's right. So this is Superman's brother, basically.
He's Superman's brother, yeah.
But in all seriousness, so Nick's a gymnastics coach for Brute Strength, Michael Caju, who we had on the show earlier, and he's also a CrossFit affiliate owner. So we just had a really good chat about gymnastics in CrossFit and basically coaching different demographics and stuff like that. Nick was a really good bloke.
Yep.
Had a great time chatting to him. What did you think, Tommy?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I actually think this episode's really good content-wise for some of our CrossFitters and gymnasts out there. There's some a lot of intricate stuff we go into detail with, and some really good stuff that you guys can get the notepad out.
Alrighty, so this show, guys, brought to you by Audible. Check out audible.com/ADV.
F Radio.
Audibletrial.com. Audibletrial.com. Check out audibletrial.com/ADVF Radio. You'll go there to find a free audiobook for yourself and a 30-day trial with Audible. Audible is amazing, guys. It's literally the best service I have on my phone. It's my favorite app.
Same.
It's anytime you're driving, you're cooking dinner, you're cleaning the house, you can be taking on knowledge. So I've just started the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People after finishing.
I didn't know you were reading that.
Yeah, I just started it, but I started it minutes after I finished Sex at Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
I was like straight into it, and I thought, I can't do this.
Where's my sex?
Okay, I can't do it. So
that's a good book.
I want to start writing
Poetry.
Reviews of the books.
Yep.
Summaries and reviews. And I'm going to put it on Adventure Fit's website, like book reviews, basically.
Yep.
But I also want to do it so I can get a grasp of what I thought of the book, put it in words, and then retain more of it.
I like it.
Anyway, Audible's great, guys. We're also brought to you by Adventure Fit Travel. Did you try and jinx me? You didn't even jinx me.
Yeah, I know. Jinx. Gotcha.
We're brought to you by Adventure Fit Travel, guys, our mother company, and we've got lots of cool stuff going on. By the time this is released, we'll most likely have a new trip for you, so I'm not going to say what it is, but go out and in case it's not released. But we're working on 2 or 3 trips we're going to be releasing in the next few weeks. So check out www.adventurefittravel.com for all the details there.
Cool.
Other than that, here's the show. Alrighty, here we are, guys. Nick, I might just ask you, is it Nick Sorrel or Sorrel?
Like Sorrel, as if the letter L did too many push-ups and got sore.
Oh, yeah,
Sorrel.
Like Jor-El.
As in like
Superman's father.
Yeah, the Jor-El.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, actually, yeah, that's exactly it. It's exactly like Superman.
Yeah.
I think we'll just use that as a start.
Yeah, that's good.
So we're on. Hey, so before we're sitting here with Nick Sorrel, Superman's son, dad's nephew.
Yeah, we're related somehow.
Yeah. Sorrel-bow.
So what we're going to do is we're going to throw over to Tommy's Tribute before we introduce Nick properly. As always, here we are, Tommy's Tribute.
Alrighty, welcome my friend Nicholas. We're going to do a rap here. It's the first time I've ever done the rap on the show, so don't expect a whole lot, but hopefully it rhymes. All right. Yeah. Come on. Nick Sorrel got involved in gymnastics at a young age. Time to turn the page. He competed year-round in his junior year. I'm inspired by this man's apparent lack of fear, because in 2011 he started to do CrossFit. He nearly made the reach. He makes me look like shit. Sorrel is a man who got a ton of records. 40 handstand pushups. He's wiping the floorboards. So without further ado, I introduce to you Nick Sorrel. Let's go give him a fucking yell.
That was the best thing. I'm going to put that on my tombstone, actually.
Yeah. Just put the part where it says, he makes me look like shit.
That's awesome.
I really hope that's not the first episode anybody listens to of Adventure Fit Radio, because they won't be listening to it.
I know.
Just joking. That was good. That was our first rap. Hey, Nick, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So, Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, bit of background.
Yeah, so I'm in Louisiana. I am south of New Orleans, if you can believe that. That's in a little town called Thibodaux. I'm from born and raised in Louisiana. I guess how I got involved in this podcast, how I landed in this podcast. An interesting thing is that I started doing gymnastics when I was really young, and I did basically young competitive gymnastics, nothing crazy. I actually got hurt my junior year of high school, and so I quit, I always called it retired, and I started coaching, and so I stayed involved with it. But then life kind of turned to more less recreational things. I went to medical school and in Louisiana here, and then I went off and did my residency to be an ear, nose, and throat surgeon in Texas, in Houston, Texas. Then I became a little bit more of an old man, not capable of doing all the gymnastic stuff I used to. And then I found CrossFit, which was awesome because I had a little outlet to do some gymnastics sort of stuff, but on a much smaller scale. And so kind of fell in love with doing CrossFit. And then because the man upstairs loves me, I guess, I ended up falling ass backwards into this awesome gig with brute strength by having some mutual friends with Mike Cassiu, the guy that you guys have already done the podcast with. And kind of built from there. So now I'm back here in Louisiana doing practicing medicine and also coaching CrossFit.
Cool, man. So
Awesome.
What stoked the fire with gymnastics? Was it your parents that got you into gymnastics? Did you actually gravitate towards it yourself, or how did it all really kick off with you and gymnastics?
Yeah, my mom loves to tell the story that whenever I was I could just started walking, I would grab onto things and then pick my feet up and start doing pull-ups, and just climbing trees and all this kind of stuff. So basically the second they could, they put me in gymnastics, and just, the reality was my mom just thought it was a good fit. No, and my mom and my dad, my dad was always at the athletic guy. He was good at body weight sort of stuff. He did mainly track and field growing up, and they just thought it would be something I'd be good at. And then I really liked it. Did it for I think 7, 8 years, something like that.
Cool. So what was it that what was the injury that led you to have to pull the pin?
I just I kept getting bicep tendonitis. It was really a combination of things. I got this really bad bicep tendonitis to where I couldn't straighten my arm. And if honestly these days, now that I know all these physical therapists, it's probably not something that should have kept me out that long. But at the time, they just put me in a cast for a while, and then they told me to stay away and I think it was in something around the order of 2 or 3 months, but it was leading up to the competition season. And then my best friend who did it with me quit in the meantime. And I was like, shit, when I went back. And then, I was a junior in high school and all my friends were just partying. And so it was just one of those things where it just was like, all right, I think it's time to hang up the towel and do some young kid stuff and, stop fighting, getting injured and whatever. So,
yeah. Cool. So when did you actually start coaching then? You were pretty young when you started coaching, and you were coaching juniors.
I did my senior year of high school, I coached, and then I coached a little bit in college. And it kind of leans itself, recreational gymnastics kind of leans itself towards that, because you can coach the really young classes and stuff like that. And, I did coach a little bit of the team, but, it's nothing like coaching Olympic caliber, people. You're just putting kids through, basic body weight stuff. And, so I started that high school and college.
All right. Cool. So what excites you as a coach? Like what these days, now that you have an affiliate, correct? I read that right. You have an affiliate. You're on the brute strength team. What is it about coaching that's a passion for you now? Tell us about that.
My main thing that fascinates me about this, especially the area of body weight fitness for CrossFit, is that it's such a fertile ground for discovery, and because nobody knows the right way, to do things. And in that way, it kind of mimics my life as a physician, because we have to fight dogma and fight thinking that we know the right answer and there's one way to do things and stuff like that. And so to me, it kind of allows, that's the train of thought, along with the humanistic aspect of medicine. But that's, from an intellectual standpoint, one of the things I love about medicine is always being open to learning new things and and with this area of CrossFit gymnastics, it's a completely new field. Like nobody knows like what a kipping toes to bar isn't a thing in real gymnastics, and neither is a butterfly pull-up. And so we're all out there trying to figure out the best way to do it. And and CrossFit operates within completely different rules than artistic gymnastics. They're not graded on form or rewarded for body aesthetics. They're rewarded for efficiency. Yeah. And so it has allowed me intellectually to try to figure out things and try to go in and do the best thing for my athletes. And the aspect of discovery is the best part for me.
Hey, Nick, do you think that just on what you were saying before about it's exciting times because we're in a new realm with CrossFit gymnastics as a term in itself, like you said. Do you think that CrossFit gymnastics can play a part in developing just a standard gymnast? Like, would you ever think about using some of the exercises that have evolved recently into more competitive gymnastics?
Man, I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. I've thought about that, but I think you could take. It depends on how the CrossFit program is designed. Now, I will tell you one thing. I do know some coaches that do CrossFit now that actually do CrossFit style training for their kids, and they think that it's been working. So, one part answer to that is yes, absolutely. I think just as part of the conditioning. But, I think there's certain limitations to it just because they're two totally different animals, like the metabolic conditioning aspect, although I'm sure it can be helpful. Most gymnastics routines are 90 seconds or under, they're short. You don't really have that need to do a 12-minute Metcon, you get a little bit diminishing returns on developing a, ton of leg strength. But of course, like a full and, regimented and linear program like that we're doing for our higher caliber athletes, I'm sure it can apply to, to a competitive gymnastics as well.
Sure.
So as a coach now, with some of your athletes being towards the top echelon of the sport, how do you go about bettering yourself as a coach? This is something that I always am interested about in terms of gaining new information, challenging the status quo. How do you go about, always trying to be evolving?
Yeah, dude, I love that question. When I first started this gig, so I was helping Mike Casio and Matt Bruce do whenever it was called Bruce Barbell back when this thing was first started. That was what evolved into Brute Strength. And I was their gymnastics guy because, like I said before, I just fell ass backwards into meeting them. Like, hey, man, you do gymnastics? Yeah, awesome. All right, great. Yeah, we can help some people. So, and it was going great. But then we were going to get whenever they turned into Brute Strength, that's when, they got Chris Henshaw and, Tommy Hackenbrook is on board. And then they really, kind of upping the names in there. And then they were looking for a gymnastics guy and they looked through some higher profile people, people that are a little bit more household names in the CrossFit world. And none of them were available. So they came to me and they said, Nick, do you want to do it? You want the job? I said, yeah, hell yeah, I want the job. But then what I told myself at that moment was, if I'm going to do it, since I don't have the pedigree that these other people have, like who the hell is Nick Sorrel? He did gymnastics when he was a kid. Yep. I said, if I'm going to tell somebody something, I want it to mean something.
Sure.
Here, I think a lot of times in coaching, you hear these regurgitated just cues, like somebody says something like some arbitrary thing, like do this with your head or do this with your head, but without thinking about what it really means. So I kind of took a step back and I said, well, what is constant? Like, what can I know that can't be changed? And the one thing where I started was physics. So I went back and I was reviewing essentially like the laws of physics and things like torque, conservation of angular momentum, and through, through medical, I have some access to some textbooks and stuff through medical resources, and was looking at those and freaking Wikipedia, and just really like looking at this stuff. And then a combination of that, and then starting to apply that and watching, one thing I tell my athletes is they tell me, they're like, oh, thank you, you helped me so much. I'll be like, thank you too, because I have the opportunity from watching all these athletes to learn. And what I have to always try to keep an open mind is if somebody does something and it's working, even if I think it's not what I've been coaching, that's working. And so I try to identify from a physics standpoint and a biomechanics standpoint, why has that worked? And just keep it in mind. And the more I review videos and see what works and what doesn't, that's kind of what's led me to say things and coach the way I do. And so the basic answer to that is always keeping an open mind and always making sure that what I say means something, not just giving people arbitrary truths, but have a reason and a why behind what I say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. So do you have any specific resources like you say you go on the internet and you go on Wikipedia and stuff? Do you have any particular, like talking about coaching as in actual movement specific or gymnastics specific, or just general coaching as in a broader term, coaching people? Do you have any resources for other coaches out there? I'm sure a lot of our listeners will probably find that pretty helpful.
So let's honestly, my favorite one for the physics stuff, like just the bare bones physics stuff, was a combination of Wikipedia and then just random physics sites that I would find online. As far as gymnastics, I wish I could remember the name of the book. I have it saved. I'm on my laptop right now. I have it saved on my computer in the other room, like a bookmark.
Yep.
It was a random biomechanics textbook that I found. I still have through my residency, I have access to the library, and they just had an old biomechanics textbook that was really helpful. And that was helpful for things like center of gravity and how people move. If I find the name of that book, I'll email it to you or something.
Yeah.
And I can put it in the show notes.
Cool.
And then I was going to tell you one other thing. One thing that I think is really cool and really helpful for people, if you go to the 10-0, I forget if it's 10, the number 10.0.
Yep.
That's an equipment manufacturer for gymnastics. And they have these old school posters that were made like the year I was born, 1981. And one of my old coaches actually was one of the guys that was on the team that helped design them. And it's a posters and a little book, and it has a bunch of rationale behind gymnastics training, and it's called Stretch. Right. So if you go to the 10-0 website and you search for Stretch, it's like $15 or something, and it's really, really cool and really helpful. Shows you a lot of techniques in terms of stretching as well as strength.
Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. Nice. So let's talk about dealing with the difference between, you mentioned that you coached children, and then you now you coach high-level CrossFit Games athletes, or you have some high-level regional athletes. I think you got one Brooke Hens, I think, is your games athlete at Brute. I don't remember Mike telling me. But how does it differ coaching people in different kind of demographics, especially like children and adults?
So I find a difference in the main difference I see is in my local box that I see. So I just had a conversation with one of my coaches because, I wish I had time to coach more at my local box, but I just don't. I'm spending most of my time doing my day job stuff. So what I have to do is I have to coach my coaches. And one big thing that we talk about is, you have a grown-ass person who's paying this premium to come here. They could be paying $20 at Anytime Fitness, but I'm paying $100-something a month to come here, and then this 20-year-old kid is trying to tell me what to do, and so adults come in with their preconceived notions and this isn't all of them. I'm painting with a broad brush here because most of our athletes are they're awesome, they're respectful, but you have to walk a line between, customer satisfaction, and you can't just call people out and reprimand them as adults. And I just had this conversation yesterday with one of my athletes. He was like, yeah, I saw somebody cheating. And then it's like, I didn't know what to do because one of the other athletes came up after and they said, we know they were cheating, and when I ended up telling them, I was like, yeah, if that was a kid, and this is like, if that was a kid in one of my gymnastics classes, I'd be like, I saw you were doing that wrong, and you could reprimand kids, but you can't reprimand adults in front of other people. It just doesn't, that's bad for business. It's not the right way to do it. And you're not going to achieve anything because, you're going to get diminishing returns. You're not going to accomplish what you're trying to. You're just going to be pissed, And so I told him, I said, what you can do with that situation is take a positive. So, you can try to gently address that with the other athlete, but the thing is that they know what they're doing, and they're cheating. That's their personality. But what you can do is you can address that positively with the athlete that's concerned about it. Say, look, you're not fighting the whiteboard. You're not competing against the whiteboard. You're competing against yourself and maybe your friends and your goals. Your goals are the main thing you're competing against. And so I think the psychological thing is the biggest thing. Physically, I think so that's the psychological thing.
It's funny with the psychological thing that you mentioned there. I used to, I don't coach anything anymore. I used to coach weightlifting and CrossFit, and I used to get athletes, grown adults, like you say, grown ass men and women.
Grown ass.
They would come up to me in the middle of the workout and say, like they'd be doing squats, air squats or whatever. I'd be walking past, yelling some stuff out, and they'd say, Look at Dan over there. Look at Dan over there. He's doing 8 reps every round. Like that might be 12 reps. He's doing 8 reps every round. He's doing 8 reps every round. Go do something about it. I'm like, that's not what I do.
Nah.
It's not my job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not my business. And I always say, just worry about your own workout. It's got nothing to do with you.
That's right. But also, you find as well that like there's something's not right for them to be worrying so much about the other person. But the more that you can get rid of, and this is dealing with kids that I believe, and I want to know your input or your thoughts on this, but the more you can get them to get out of this idea of it's a competition and it's goals and all this stuff, and the more it's like it's just the best hour of their day and they're just there for fun, the less cheating I feel you see. Do you have any thoughts on that?
And bettering yourself.
Absolutely.
So you're not going to cheat against yourself, are you?
No way. Exactly. You just can't.
How you frame it,
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. Like, I couldn't have said it any better. It's just what I tell people is I like to say that I think the best thing about CrossFit is it turns working out from being a chore into being a hobby.
Yeah.
When it's a chore, you're kind of cheating. You can cheat yourself. You'd be like, I'm not going to do this rep, I'm not going to do that. When it's a hobby, like you said, you're having fun. And then if you view it as the most entertaining part of your day, which for a lot of our athletes, and I can't say this anymore because now I have a 10-month-old, so that's the most entertaining part of my day. But but it is one of the things I look forward to the most in my day. If I can't go to the gym, it sucks, And so to me, just to be able to go there and do it is fun. And so to me, I don't gain anything from cheating. I'm just doing the workout, and it's fun, and I gain a lot just from completing it. And we're trying to pass that culture onto our athletes is, I think, really important locally at our box. And I think one thing, fortunately, with Brute Strength is that we have a really excellent culture of that. We really do. I was honestly, because like my gymnastics system that I created is all foundational based. It's making people do the absolute most basic stuff, like basics, like to taking people that we're doing, I can do this many handstand pushups and say, no, all right, too bad, you're doing headstands now, and making them go back to basics. And I thought I was going to get so much resistance, but the reality is I have very, very little resistance to that. They're going back to the basics approach. And I think it's been really refreshing for a lot of our athletes, And, so I guess that goes back to the second thing about the difference between coaching kids and adults. Kids are, not only psychologically, but physically just a clean slate, and you can do so much with them. They're so mobile and they recover so easy, and they don't have,
they're real bendy, aren't they?
These bad things that they've been doing with these bad muscle immobilities and deficiencies.
Bench pressing for 14 years.
Haven't been sitting down eating chips.
They're all heavy. And So with adults, though, I've been really happy with how pliable they are in their physical nature, too. Like, we can go back and by just hammering the basics, make them move more like gymnasts.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that's the advantage I have. I'm not stronger. The reason I can do more of this gymnastic stuff is just because I have the background of paying attention to what my body was doing in space, And that's what I'm trying to get these guys, our athletes to do.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Hey, Nico, we wanted to move on and talk about some specific training principles of gymnastics. How does that tie in with the CrossFit programming, and what sort of stuff do you focus on in the lead up to regionals, in the lead up to the Open, some stuff like that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, do you have any specific
I'll
things?
ask a specific question. Nick, considering Tom wants to go around in circles over and over and over. Hey,
Look, I just want to hear you talk for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
all
I
right.
must have heard my podcast with Mike where I just talked for 45 minutes, and I thought you ought to just go and have some lunch right now, and I just keep talking.
Yeah. So Nick, who are you?
So what about what are the basic exercises, like 3 to 5 exercises for a general CrossFitter that you'll implement to really I'm talking gymnastics based, to really strengthen them up, to get them ready for pull-ups and butterfly pull-ups and muscle-ups and handstand walk, all this stuff. What are the core exercises that you find most beneficial for the general populace?
All right. Let's see. All right. So the best thing, that's a really broad, for me, that question is really hard to answer because I use a lot of different stuff. But I think what it really comes down to, and this is what I talk about a lot, it's not what particular exercise you use, it's why you're using it. So there's like a million different kinds of push-ups. There's a million different kind of pull-ups, right? But so what we've done is, rather than focus on the exercises, because I think a lot of times it's really, especially in the age of social media, and I'm guilty of it too, and I'll try to put disclaimers when I can, but you try to put stuff that catches the eye on social media, like something that's cute and clever, and, oh, look at this exercise, and people look at that, oh shit, I should be doing that. I should be doing a push-up with one hand on this and the other hand on that, and oh, that's what I need. So rather than, focusing on the exercises, what I took when I made my program, I tried to focus on what attributes of the athlete I was building.
Sure. Right.
And so I kind of broke it down like the body is a machine. So essentially the machine, a machine needs fuel, and a machine needs gears, and a machine needs a motor, and so the fuel is in our program, that's left up to the CrossFit guys and Chris Henshaw. I don't really have to do a lot with muscle endurance because these guys are getting, although we do work a little bit of gymnastics, local muscle endurance, and that's your Metcon sort of stuff. But the guts of my program is mainly the motor, which is the strength. And so I break that down into pulling strength, pushing strength, and then core strength. And then for pulling strength, you can further break that down into straight arm pulling, like lever pulling, and then bent arm pulling. And then for the pushing strength, I can break that. I call it inverted, because the inverted pushing, like handstand pushups, is a different animal, physically. So I'll break it out into inverted pushing and then non-inverted pushing, which is either upright, which is dips, or prone, which is push-ups. And then core strength. And then for core strength, I usually break it up into resisting movement, because that's one of the most important things about core strength, is being able to resist movement in core while you're doing work elsewhere with your extremities. And then also moving core strength, which is sit-ups, being able to move your core, or back extensions. So that's one limb of it, and that's the motor. And then the other limb is the gears, and the gears is basically being able to, for your body, that motor to be able to move effectively, and not being the guy who can just do curls but can't lift his arm above his head, and so that I break down into mobility, which for us is mobility is a really broad category. For gymnasts, mobility a lot of times it just breaks down to flexibility, which is the ability to move a joint. So that's one aspect of that. Then the other two things are what we really hone in on are static positions, and then dynamics. So static meaning, what's the top of a ring dip is a ring support hold, and the bottom of a ring dip is the bottom of a ring dip. It's a support hold, but your arms are bent. And then the top of a handstand push-up is a handstand, and the bottom is a headstand. And so you can essentially, depending on whether you're in a support position, a hang position, your arms are bent or straight, and then whether you're prone, upright, supine, inverted, you can come up with all these different positions. And then when you analyze and then what shape your core is in, when you look at that, you can say every single one of those positions is what it takes to do a butterfly pull-up, what it takes to do a ring muscle up. And so we ask athletes to hold those positions and feel comfortable and feel what it feels like to do that. And then we ask them to go from one position to another and with the dynamics. And then our coaching becomes a matter of not saying, hey, pop your hips and move this elbow and do this or that, but go from this position to this position. And it's so much easier for the brain to comprehend that. You know, if you think about a golfer, the golfers, when they're not thinking, okay, I'm going to move my wrist right here, and then I'm going to, move my elbow right here. They're a lot of times just thinking of how do I line up, and then they can tell how well they hit the ball by how they finish. Yeah, they always finish with a club behind them, and if they're falling off their back foot, so they hit the wrong position.
Yeah, the positions feel comfortable for them, and are not comfortable, but they know what the positions feel like, so they're able to put their body there without thinking as much.
Exactly. And so the long-winded answer, hopefully you guys had time for a sandwich during that answer. The long-winded answer to your question is, I think if I had to pick one thing for an athlete to do, a CrossFitter, to be better at CrossFit gymnastics, it would be to work positions.
Yeah.
That would be the one thing. And, and also flexibility is key too, but that's a whole other animal, people, because that depends on the person. Some people are woefully inadequate at that, and some people aren't. But almost all of them are woefully inadequate at positioning, and so that would if I could prescribe one thing for somebody, that would probably be to work on more positions.
Sure. So all right. Well, my next question was, what's the most overlooked kind of part of training for CrossFitters / weightlifters out there? But so you've pretty much answered that in that question that you just answered then, but like what's an example, as in actual 3 positions? Say it's a Monday and you've got 3 positions you're going to prescribe as extra work for somebody, maybe, or I'm not sure how you'll do it, but say you've got 3 positions and you want them to do 3 sets of 15 reps or 3 sets of 30-second holds. What's an actual example of something that you'd tell someone to do on a day?
Apply that, yeah. So for our athletes, I have a whole system where we go through where we increase their volume over time. But the easy way to do it, just for any CrossFitter, would be I would take a support position, a hang position, and then a core intensive position. So, and then this core one can be also a support as well. So, say take your core one core position would be an L sit or a tuck support on parallettes.
Gotcha.
And then what you do is you want to hold. Most people do with a 1-to-1 work rest interval, and then working. So you can do 5 seconds on, 5 seconds off, or 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. And usually the sticking point for most athletes is somewhere to 2 to 3 minutes. If you can get to 3 minutes, that's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yep, bloody good. Yeah.
And then if you need, and then you can go, and I'll even do that with my athletes. So with my athletes in my gym, and one thing is while I'm on that, to me, I'm talking about a tuck sit versus an L sit on parallel.
So your knees are at a 90 degree as a tuck sit.
Yep. Your knees are tucked into your body, and then you're flexed at the knee joint as well.
Yes.
And then with the, you're only flexed at the hip, and your knees are extended on the L sit. And so, and so most people that are trying to do L sits have no business doing that. They need to be doing excellent tuck sits rather than janky ass, L sits. So that would be one, and then pick a hang. So one thing could be a top of the pull-up hold, and then also 1-to-1 work rest interval. Hold it for 5 seconds, rest for 5 seconds, do it for as long as you can, and then you can pick another support position, which would be like a handstand, and then hold a handstand, and then handstand you can hold for a little bit longer at a time. Do it 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off, or sometimes 3 to 4 minutes.
So what about?
And so that would be a very easy workout.
How much time would you? Sorry to cut you off. How much time would you spend in support holds in the hollow position? Is that the number one go-to? Obviously, not obviously. That's my question. Is that the number one go-to, the hollow hold, or is that one of the most important? Obviously. Yeah.
So I actually in my gymnastics only program that we're coming out with, and actually what we're incorporating into we have a lot of games athletes we're working with now this year, and I've come up with 8 common hold positions and the 8 most basic or the most fundamental hold positions.
Yep.
And that just supine hollow hold on the ground is one of those.
Yeah.
So definitely you want to be able to hold a hollow body position such that your lower back stays on the ground. And if somebody came up and pushed your feet, you would just rock back and forth on the ground like you were that somebody had pushed, you know.
For sure.
Like you want the whole idea with that is you want the problem that CrossFitters have that I find is one problem is they want to use their hips for everything.
Yep.
You know, like you got to use your hips, you got to extend your hips. And a lot of times it's not helping you. You know, you've got to
not in gymnastics.
The body in gymnastics, you know, like a traditional kipping pull-up, you don't really need to be jerking your hips a lot. It's actually not helping you because what's really helping you is the swing of your shoulders, you know, not the jerking of the hips is the change of direction. The shoulder swinging, which is the straight arm pulling, is the motor, is the power of it.
What do you think about that, the kipping pull-up that CrossFit teaches in the level 1? I mean, I did the CrossFit Gymnastics certificate 6 months after my CrossFit Level 1, or maybe a year after my CrossFit Level 1 back in the day. And I left the CrossFit Gymnastics certificate and I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. So I go and throw out absolutely everything that I was taught in the CrossFit Level 1 that I've been teaching for the last year. Because obviously there's that, the bucking of the hips, and I forget how the cues go now because I haven't coached in so long. But I never taught it like that. I taught a hollow position, hollow arch, and that's how the gymnastics teach it. But CrossFit go and have their own, you know, bastardized version of it. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I honestly, I think it, you know, and I don't want to, you know, cast aspersions on CrossFit or anything like that. But I think the problem with that is that they have their dogma, you know, that they have to show it that way without really, you know, looking, I guess. I've looked at so many videos of so many people and done this so many times and then try to correlate it from a physics standpoint. To me, it just doesn't make sense that the jerking of the hip, because they're like, yeah, the hips, that's the power, but that only counts if your feet are planted on something.
Yeah.
You know, your feet have to be planted on something in order to apply that force, you know? And so they did the same thing to me. They told me I did my level 1. And I was doing hollow body kipping pull-ups, you know, and now, of course, you add the arch if you do the butterfly.
Yep.
But I was just doing regular kipping pull-ups, and they were like, "Oh, you do meathead pull-ups." And I was like,
pull-ups.
Yeah, I was like,
that's slightly offensive.
I hope you told him straight up. No, motherfucker, I do pull-ups. I do gymnastics pull-ups.
I'm the man.
Yeah.
And you do a 40 minute.
I was like, I respectfully disagree. I kind of left it alone.
Yeah.
And it's
sure. You don't want to be a jerk.
I got a little bit
hip jerk.
and I got all, and I went and I called Mike Casio after. I was like, dude, like what the hell, man? And then I was like, I took everything I had to just not, get in a big argument.
Yeah.
And he started laughing. He said, you need to talk to Matt Bruce. And apparently, at Matt Bruce, when he did the level 1, they were, and you guys know Matt Bruce. He's our Olympic guy. He was on the Olympic team as an alternate. Like he's an excellent weightlifter.
Yes.
And they were telling him he was doing all this shit wrong at his weightlifting and everything. And so Matt told me that story. I was like, all right. So I guess it's just the way it goes.
It's not just me then. Yeah.
That's right.
That's the sun.
Yeah, cool. So what about stuff, talking about actual movements again now, so inverted stuff. So this is the things that trouble people the most, You see people that want to get better handstand push-ups doing tons of extra handstand push-ups and so on and so forth, whereas I've heard a lot of people say that the best way, and some stuff that I would do would be shoulder taps or just or holds, just positional holds, nose into the wall, to work on those little stabilizer muscles in your shoulders. What are the best for handstand push-ups, handstand walking, shoulder stability when you're upside down? What are the best? What are some usable movements and accessories for that?
The first thing I would say with a handstand push-up is for the handstand push-up itself is I think you're right, absolutely right about the holds. I think time under tension is key. Mm-hmm. I think the person who wins is the person whose shoulders don't get worn out by all of the time it's spent supporting itself off of supporting your body off of the ground.
Yes.
And so I have my athletes just spend a lot of time on their hands, just upside down. Whether you're doing shoulder taps or actually, I really like, rather than shoulder taps, like because people get caught up on getting off balance on shoulder taps. Next time you do it, just get on a box and get your ass over your head, or get on the wall, and you can go perpendicular to the wall. It's actually really helpful, so that just one foot is on the wall and you're perpendicular. And rather than tapping your shoulders, just pick one hand up at a time, just an inch off the and it really starts to burn really fast. And you maintain your balance and you actually mimic that handstand walking movement a little bit better because you're not throwing yourself off to try to do that really fast shoulder tap. So I like that a lot. And I got off subject because I started off talking about handstand pushups. But handstand pushups, one thing I think is really key is the position you put your body in for your center of gravity. So when you think about a press or a push press, you have to keep the bar over your feet, and just like, again, I'm not trying to talk, I think level one course, they give you a lot of great info, but and then one thing they taught me is that whole bringing your head back thing when you do a press and you're basically trying to keep the barbell over your feet. Well, when you're doing a handstand push-up, your base of support is your hands and the weight you're moving is your center of gravity, which is right under your belly button. So to get your center of gravity, if you watch somebody from the side doing handstand push-ups, to put your center of gravity over your belly button, you have to arch. And so what I find works the best is you go from a hollow headstand to an arch. And then after you arch and put your center of gravity over your hands, then you start to press.
Yep.
That also engages your back because you need to engage your back to rotate your scapula as you press. And that's why I mentioned, before that pressing inverted is a completely different animal because you have a whole thing where you have to be able to engage your back to rotate your scapula. And I have a bunch of drills that I work with people to do that. One simple thing you can do, and here's a cool thing you can, your listeners can try, get into a headstand. And if you're familiar with gymnastics movements, the headstand, you're supposed to have your hands and head like a three-legged stool, like a tripod.
Yep.
And have somebody touch your heels and try to push you over. And feel how you have to push against your palms. You can imagine you have to push your palms against the ground to resist getting pushed on your ass or basically on your face. So somebody pushes your heels and tries to push you over on your face and you have to push off of your hands to resist that. And that's how you should be pushing. I think works the best to push for handstand push-ups.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So one final question from me that I just wanted to touch on with as far as like actual exercises in general. What do you think is a movement or a couple of the movements in CrossFit that just should be scrapped? Because what's the worst? If any. Yeah, I mean you don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to rag CrossFit. But I mean, what are the movements that you see that aren't really doing much benefit for people in the way that they apply them, or in the way that they're programmed?
Oh man, it's because I know I've had those thoughts so many times, and I guess with a lot of the stuff,
I won't tell Dave Castro.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Dave, get out of the room.
Yeah, right. I don't know, man. I think I've got a friend who's a physical therapist who absolutely hates pistols and thinks they should be scrapped. I tell you, I don't necessarily wholeheartedly agree in concept, but I tend to agree wholeheartedly every time I do them. I don't know. It's just like a lot of tension on your those the tendons of your your patellar tendon and stuff like that. And I know I've gotten really bad tendonitis from doing that, but I guess there's nothing essentially wrong with unilateral loading.
I guess the thing as well for CrossFit.
I wish I'd have been more prepared for that question because I know I'm sure I can think of some stuff. Because my thing is, people always talk about these kipping pull-ups and is it really bad for your shoulders? The thing is with me, I honestly feel like my shoulders are better off now than before I started CrossFit. And I think it's as long as you're doing the movement right. I think it's the problem. The inherent problem isn't necessarily a lot of the movements. It's the people that should be in the category of still doing ring rows, but get involved in seeing all the people around them doing pull-ups.
For sure.
And they're just doing really poor biomechanic kipping pull-ups that is dangerous to their shoulders. So basically the problem is a mental one of people not being ready to do some of these things. Than the movements in general. Although I'll probably think right after I get off of this call of a couple of them that I think should be scrapped.
Always happens, mate.
I completely tend to agree with you with that statement, Nick. That's it's not the movement, it's the person that shouldn't be doing the movement that goes for it anyway. And you have to look at the just the evidence we've got. I mean, CrossFit as a training methodology has been around for, I think Greg came up with the concept sort of mid-90s, or it's been around for 15 years at least, and we haven't really seen many injuries from people that are able and capable of doing these movements actually doing. We haven't seen like wear and tear, and I know it's a young sport, but it seems to be going in the right direction in terms of health. Hey, moving forward, what is next for Nick Sorrel?
Next for me is
Sorrel.
Yeah,
for
get
Nick,
it right, man.
really Sorrel. Sorry, relatively Sorrel from the kipping pull-up.
Yeah, he might get a strongly worded letter, man. That's not my
that's
name.
true. Yeah, fuck you.
Next for me is so the biggest thing in the CrossFit world is my gymnastics only program and building out the training methods that we're going to be using and fine tuning the ones we're using moving forward for our higher level athletes through I'm going to have this big archive where everything is linked online. It's just going to make what we do more powerful. All those, the whole machine analogy I gave you earlier, essentially that's all going to be archived online where we can automate it and customize programs for people. Professionally and personally, it's just building a family and raising this baby and trying to build my ENT practice and, so just a lot of things to do in my life. I need to call my congressman about getting more hours put in the day. I'm not sure if it's a 26 or 27 hour day.
Call Sorrel.
But
call your uncle.
That's probably the next thing on my list, just so I can accomplish all this stuff.
All right, beautiful. So,
cool, man.
Just to wrap it up, Nick, we got 3 questions from myself, 3 questions from Tommy. They're normally rapid fire. These ones have to be particular rapid fire.
Yeah.
We have another guest in 10 minutes.
39 seconds.
Yeah.
But so mine are travel related. So my first question is, what's your favorite destination on the planet? Can be little country, little town, country.
Best place,
continent.
favorite place I ever went was Switzerland.
Beautiful.
Like Lucerne, Switzerland.
Okay, cool. What was the highlight?
We went up in the mountains, and we did this. Basically just going up in the mountains.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
Cool.
I'm from Louisiana. We don't see a lot of that.
Yeah. No worries. All right. So next question is dream destination.
Dream destination, dude. Can I say outer space?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Absolutely, you can. Anywhere in particular, or you just want to leave the
I just want to look down and see the Earth from a spaceship
and spit on everyone.
Yeah, having to be an astronaut, because I hear that's pretty hard.
I think you'll be able to do it. I think by the time that we're old and decrepit, we'll be able to pay not too much money to do that.
Look, I think personally, with the way the kipping pull-up is developing, the hip jerk will be so aggressive that you'll just throw yourself out there.
And last question from me, Nick. If you had 3 things to keep you sane on a desert island, entertainment-wise, what are
they? Let's see. I would say, how about horseshoes? Horseshoes sound fine. Yeah, why not? Just because that was the first thing to mind.
Rapid fire, and I'm not going to go into that, so we're going to leave that open to interpretation. Yeah. So horseshoes, you've got horseshoes.
Cool. Not duck shoes.
How about, okay, I got to go rapid. I'm just going with things that come to my head. Comic books.
Boom.
I don't even know why. I don't even read comic books. What else would I do on a desert island? I don't know. How about I'm just gonna go with a Kindle with all the books on it.
That's actually very popular.
That's a weak, boring answer, but
Kindle's good.
I was just at the beach 2 weeks ago, and that's what I did on the beach.
Yeah. So. Hey, Nico, what do you do in your downtime, in your spare time, when you have some? Apart from read books, wearing your horseshoes.
Let's see. I guess one thing I love outdoor work and like yard work. Like I built my fence and did my landscaping, and my wife always jokes I can just walk around in my yard in my underwear, just like looking at the grass. So I love stuff like that, like projects. That's cool. That's what I love to do. I wish I had more time to do it. Yeah. And I also like traditional South Louisiana hunting, fishing stuff.
Oh, I love Louisiana. I've been in New Orleans. I want to go back. Anyway, that's for another one. Hey, did you have a big role model growing up, like a big inspiration, someone you looked up to?
My dad and my uncle. You know, my uncle's also an ear, nose, and throat surgeon, and that was always an inspiration to me, seeing him go through that, and me wanting to be a physician, and then my dad. You know, just seeing the way that he treats people, and and just being a good man, and I think that's by far the two most influential people on kind of the person I've become.
Absolutely. Hey, and one final question. It's going to put you on the spot a little bit here. That's nice and tough. But if you could invite 3 people, dead or alive, to dinner, who would they be and why? And you can't say your family because your family's already there.
Yeah, sure. All right. Let's pick an alive person who I'm fascinated with. That is, I'm going to go with Chris Pratt. I really like that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah. The actor?
And I just, the actor, the guy, I just finished watching all the seasons of Parks and Rec, so I guess that's why I'm going with that.
Yeah, he's cool.
Either him or Nick Offerman, one of the two. And then that's it. Let's see who else.
Bill and Tom from Adventure Fit Radio.
I mean, I guess you got to go with Jesus, right? I mean, Jesus is a good one.
Yeah. He'd be a cool dude to speak to.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to Jesus.
Oh, no, we forgot to bring the wine. Oh. Hey, Jesus.
Exactly. How about, okay, and then last person, I was thinking of like some kind of a sports figure that I would really like. Oh, you know, a sports figure that I always thought was awesome growing up was Willie Mays. I remember reading a book about him growing up, and I was fascinated with him, and he was like, so I guess, I'll just say Willie Mays.
Cool.
Seemed like, all right, let's go with that.
I like it. That'd be a cool dinner.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Nick.
Jesus, Willie, and Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that's right. Not necessarily in that order.
Hey, Nick, so where can people find you? Where can people find what you're doing? Anything you want to plug?
Let's see. My Instagram is Nick Sorrel, NickSorrel. That's where I do most of my CrossFit propaganda. It's really the only thing I do. I tried to do Snapchat once, and it frightened me. It was just
too many dick pics.
But I think I'm on Snapchat. I was just never sure about what was going on the internet, and I couldn't keep up with it. The main thing I have all my CrossFit stuff is Nick Sorrel, the Instagram account, and then you can get in touch with me always through if you go to brutestrengthstraining.com. They have the email addresses for contact info and all this stuff. I actually have I think that's Gymnastics at brutestrengthstraining.com as the email. And if any of you guys are listening and you're looking for any direction, the Gymnastics only program hopefully will be coming out in the next several months. It's a really big undertaking. I'm working as hard as I can. And if you guys have any questions, you can always hit me up on either email or an Instagram message or something like that, and I'll get you some info.
Beautiful.
Sweet.
Alrighty, well, thanks for coming on the show, Nick, and it's been great.
Yeah, hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to add Willie Nelson to my list of people that I'm bringing to dinner.
Well, now hang on a second. That would involve another chair, and I don't think you're prepared for that, man.
We can only pick one Willie. That's going to be tough.
That's right. Well, there's going to be 4 Willies there.
All right, that's a good note to leave it on.
I love it. All right.
Thanks,
Nick.
Awesome, guys.
Thanks, Nick.
Cheers, man. Bye. Alrighty, so thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed our chat with Nick. He was a really good guy. Lots of good information about gymnastics and how to implement it into CrossFit and how to also coach different demographics. I had a really good time chatting with him.
Yeah. If you love the tribute, guys, if you love that rap, let me know because I'll be doing more raps. If you hated it, guys, don't let me know and I'll probably never do it again.
And make sure you subscribe, guys. So go on to iTunes, leave us a rating and review if you're there when you're there as well. And then if you want anything from the show that's usable content, you make sure you go to the show notes, which can be found at www.adventurefittravel.com/podcast.
Yep.
Subscribe to the mailing list while you're there. And then don't forget audible.com, audibletrial.com/ADVF radio for a free audiobook and 30-day trial. Don't forget www.adventurefittravel for all your traveling needs.
Boom. And wants.
There's some
all right,
wants there
guys.
too.
Yeah, there are. All right, guys. We'll speak to you next week. Bye.
Discovery, Roger. Go for deploy.